Big Bang Theory franchise cheapens Sheldon and Penny's oldest bonding scene from 16 years ago. When The Big Bang Theory premiered back in 2007, the heart of the show wasn't only in the nerdy references, the scientific jargon, or even Sheldon's eccentric quirks. Surprisingly, some of the most moving moments came from the bond between Sheldon Cooper and Penny, two characters who couldn't be more different on paper. He was the socially inept genius, obsessed with physics and structure. She was the struggling actress turned waitress, grounded in real-world social skills. Their dynamic was never intended as romantic, but it became one of the most compelling relationships in the sitcom. 16 years later, however, the growing Big Bang Theory franchise, first with young Sheldon, and now with Georgie and Mandy's first marriage alongside the upcoming spin-off, has unintentionally cheapened the raw authenticity of Sheldon and Penny's earliest bonding scene. By revisiting, retconning, and over-explaining so many aspects of Sheldon's life, the franchise risks rewriting the subtle magic of what once made that relationship so unique. The scene that changed everything. In Season 2's episode, The Euclid Alternative, 2008, Sheldon finds himself in a situation that reveals just how dependent he is on his friends. After Leonard refuses to keep chauffeuring him around, the group tries to teach Sheldon to drive. Predictably, the attempt is a disaster. Yet what makes the episode unforgettable is what happens later. Penny, the neighbor who started out as nothing more than the girl across the hall, steps in to comfort Sheldon when he spirals into frustration and loneliness. In a rare display of vulnerability, Sheldon accepts Penny's presence without protest. Instead of mocking him or growing annoyed, she shows empathy and patience, treating him not as a burden but as a friend. The moment marks one of the first times viewers saw Sheldon forge a connection outside of his intellectual equals. Penny didn't need to understand string theory to matter in his world, she only needed to care. This was not played for laughs. It was an early glimpse of the emotional core that made The Big Bang Theory rise above being just another sitcom about geeks. Sheldon and Penny were the last two people anyone would have expected to lean on each other, but that was precisely why their bond resonated. Why the bond worked so well. The brilliance of Sheldon and Penny's relationship was in its contrast. Sheldon, at his core, viewed the world through logic and systems, often dismissing feelings as irrelevant. Penny, meanwhile, came from a world of intuition, relationships, and life struggles far removed from academic achievement. When the two came together, the friction gave rise not only to comedy, but also to genuine moments of heart. Importantly, their bond never needed to be defined by romance. Unlike Leonard and Penny's slow-burn relationship, Sheldon and Penny's arc was about platonic respect. She became one of the few people who could challenge him without triggering his defenses, while he, ironically, validated her in ways Leonard often failed to. Their friendship became one of the show's most reliable anchors. Whether it was Penny singing Soft Kitty to Sheldon when he was sick, or Sheldon quietly supporting Penny's decisions when others doubted her, the connection grew into something the audience cherished as much as any romantic subplot. How the franchise undermines this. Fast forward to the sprawling Big Bang Theory franchise. With young Sheldon, audiences gain new insights into Sheldon's Texas childhood. Later, with spin-offs like Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, CBS doubled down on the Cooper family mythology. These shows have been successful, but their insistence on retroactively exploring every aspect of Sheldon's upbringing has a side effect. It reframes his adult relationships in ways that dilute their original impact. Take that Season 2 bonding scene between Sheldon and Penny. Back when it aired, the moment mattered because Penny was breaking through barriers that no one else had. She became the first non-family, non-scientific figure to genuinely connect with Sheldon's vulnerabilities. It was a leap forward in his character development. But now, thanks to young Sheldon, audiences see a different picture. The prequel has introduced a string of characters: his mother Mary, his siblings Georgie and Missy, his Mima, and even his childhood friends, who all share similar breakthrough moments with young Sheldon. Scenes where Mary comforts him after social meltdowns, or Mima validates his uniqueness, present a Sheldon who has already experienced empathy and connection. That robs Penny's role of its uniqueness. If Sheldon had already been conditioned from childhood to accept care and support, then Penny wasn't a groundbreaking force in his life. She was just one in a long line of people who understood him. The rawness of her comfort scene in The Euclid Alternative is cheapened when viewers are told Sheldon had similar experiences decades earlier. The franchise problem: too much context. This issue isn't limited to Sheldon and Penny. Expanding universes can often over-explain what once thrived in mystery. Think of Star Wars revealing too much about the Force, or Hannibal Rising explaining away Hannibal Lecter's psychology. In many cases, prequels and spin-offs unintentionally strip away the mystique that made relationships and character beats feel profound. In Sheldon's case, his eccentricities and his difficulty with human connection were most powerful when they seemed like barriers that only a select few could cross. Penny's success in breaking through those walls felt monumental because it appeared rare. But young Sheldon reframes those walls as never being that strong to begin with. By giving viewers so much backstory, the franchise changes the way audiences view Sheldon's adulthood. His quirks look less like the natural outcome of a lonely genius who finally finds companionship, and more like recycled character beats that the audience has already seen a younger version of. Why Penny's role still matters. Despite the franchise's tendency to overwrite history, Penny's bond with Sheldon retains a certain power that no prequel can erase. Part of this lies in context. Penny met Sheldon at a stage in his life where his intellectual success had already alienated him socially. Unlike his family, Penny wasn't obligated to love him. Unlike Leonard, she didn't idolize him. And unlike Amy, she didn't seek him romantically. Her friendship was an active choice. That choice is why Penny mattered more than any childhood caretaker or sibling. She wasn't tied to Sheldon by blood or circumstance. She stayed in his orbit because she wanted to. That voluntary decision carried emotional weight that transcends the retcons. Moreover, the chemistry between Jim Parsons and Kaylee Cuoco elevated their interactions beyond the script. Their scenes had an energy that came from two actors perfectly understanding how to balance banter with sincerity. No spin-off or prequel can replicate that. A missed opportunity for the franchise. If the Big Bang Theory franchise wanted to preserve the specialness of Sheldon and Penny's bond, it could have leaned into it rather than diluting it. For example, young Sheldon might have shown Sheldon failing to form meaningful peer connections despite his family's best efforts, thereby reinforcing why Penny's later breakthrough was so impactful. Instead, the prequel often portrays young Sheldon as someone surrounded by patient figures who already get him, which undermines the isolation that defined his early adult life. Similarly, new spin-offs like Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage sometimes use adult Sheldon's voiceover to comment on family lessons. These reflections risk trivializing Sheldon's adult milestones by reducing them to callbacks. Every time Sheldon narrates about how his family prepared him for his later life, it chips away at the sense that his relationships with Penny, Leonard, or Amy were discoveries rather than inevitabilities. Conclusion: protecting what made it special. 16 years after that season 2 bonding scene, Sheldon and Penny's friendship still stands as one of the most humanizing arcs in The Big Bang Theory. It was never about romance, but about proving that even the most difficult people can form connections if given patience and care. Unfortunately, the sprawling franchise has unintentionally dulled that moment's brilliance by reframing Sheldon as someone who had already experienced many such breakthroughs as a child. While